What an astounding revolution. Bitcoin is immune from attack.
Welcome back to the Crypto Show's Digital Cash Evolution right here on the Bloomberg Network. And today we're blessed to talk with somebody who can really tell us something about foreign economies and why cryptocurrencies are very important to that. So I'm here with, of course, with my co-host Chuck.
Hey, how you doing?
And Chuck, well, tell us about your position with Dash and what do you think about this whole Venezuelan thing?
Oh my goodness! So while I was employed with Dash Core Group, I very quickly came to the conclusion that areas where there are distressed finances, fiat currencies, are a great place to test the vision of cryptocurrencies like Dash. And Dash, as I hear, is being most successful in Venezuela. And Eugenia has firsthand experience on the ground with this. And now, Eugenia, I'm actually not sure. You're located in Venezuela, or is it someplace else?
Yes, I am in Caracas, Venezuela. I wanted to thank you guys for having me in your show.
Thank you for coming on.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Dash, Eugenia, in Venezuela, and give us a sense of what's happening in Venezuela.
Yes. Well, first of all, you have to understand that Venezuela is a country that is going through the worst economic crisis ever in our story. We are having hyperinflation. We are having lack of cash. I mean, even when you have the money on your bank account, you cannot withdraw the cash because banks has had limits for the cash you can get. And that is not good because there are a lot of things that are only paid with cash, like public transportation. So it is really a problem. Also, when you want to pay something with your debit or credit card, maybe when you are going to the shop, there is no point of sale, or if there is one, it works really bad, and you can spend many time trying to get it to work with your card. Also, on top of that, there is this with transaction limits for a day. So if you are one of the lucky persons in Venezuela who have enough money to buy your entire grocery shopping, this has come to or this has brought as consequence that people are not having enough money to buy their goods and services, even the basic ones, and also, there is a lack of products in Venezuela. I mean, maybe you have the money, but you cannot find what you need, like food or medicine. And people are depressed about this, and people are leaving our country. There are millions of Venezuelans who have left our country in great deal because of the economic crisis, because even when they have jobs, they cannot afford to live with what they make in Venezuela. So they leave our country. With a simple job, they can not only live themselves, but send money back to home so their families can live. In this crisis, people have come to live on the street. Entire families have gotten so poor that they have to live on the streets, even though they are working. So it is really, really difficult what we are going through, and that was the reason why I started researching last year, at the beginning of 2017, about how could I contribute to help the Venezuelans have a better economy. I thought at first about telecommuting, yes, okay, and that was a way, but there was a barrier, and that is that Venezuelans do not have bank accounts in other currencies, and it is really difficult for us to get one. And even it is really difficult to us to verify PayPal accounts. So that is when I remember that there was something called Bitcoin, and I started researching about cryptocurrencies, and I stumbled upon the Daily Decrypt by Amanda B. Johnson. I became a junkie of that show. I think I spent straight hours seeing all the shows all together, and then I found Dash, and I really fell in love with Dash because of of course, the fast transactions and the low fees that made it. It made sense that we can use Dash to buy goods and things, to accept it as payment. And when I learned about the treasury and the master notes and the voting and the proposals, I thought this is the opportunity to help the Venezuela. So I designed this proposal. Our first project was a 1 year long cycle of conference, and it will be one conference a month for a year that were going to be free, and it was going to be for entrepreneurs to understand what is blockchain, what are cryptocurrencies, what is Dash, and how they can use it every day to overcome the economic barriers we have in Venezuela. So I started that, and our first conference was in September 2017, and we were overwhelmed by the amount of people who were interested about learning about this. So we have to go with larger conference. We at first thought about 80 people conference a month, and then we have to move to hundreds of people. We have had our biggest event was about 1,000 people in one day that came to us to learn about cryptocurrency and about Dash. After that, we started making trainings for entrepreneurs, for merchants, for companies, and in January 2017, we founded the company called Dash Venezuela, and we started to work with a great, passionate, and very professional team to not only give this conference, but train people every day about this, to train also to help leaders from other communities to start their communities in Venezuela, and to help other project leaders to understand the treasury and how to get funded by the Dash treasury. And we have been doing this since January, and we are now with a lot of exciting results. For example, we have over 12,000 people in our database who are interested about learning about Dash. Also, we have had our 11th conference just yesterday, number 11. So we are very close to finish the first cycle. And now we have over 20 communities all around Venezuela who are working to teach people about Dash, and we have helped other project leaders to understand the treasury, and there is this exciting ecosystem in Venezuela that has led to us in the country with the most entrepreneurs, merchants, and companies accepting Dash in the world. We have over 1,000 companies or merchants accepting Dash right now.
Yeah, and I've been watching that on discoverdash.com. If anybody's interested, in the audience out there, you can go to discoverdash.com and check out listings for Dash accepting merchants in your area. And particularly if you look in the Venezuela area, you will see that indeed there are thousands, and they are all over the map, but yes, mostly centered around Caracas, but they are spreading, right? Yes. Now, so it sounds like just an incredible story where you recognize recognized a very serious economic problem in your area, and the problems went on and on and on, and it doesn't sound like anybody's really trying to solve these problems. The banks aren't trying to help you out. In fact, they're making it more difficult. The government isn't helping you out because I just heard that they just dropped 5 digits from the value just this past week, right? So that even hurts more, right? So the people of Venezuela are not getting any help from businesses, from banking, from the government. But here we have a global peer-to-peer solution with cheap fees that is working for merchants in this distressed economy. Now, it sounds like a great success story, but I want to be a little bit skeptical. And maybe when we come back from the break, we can get into really digging in as to how successful this project really is.
Yeah. I mean, just because there's 1,000 businesses that are taking it, we don't know how many customers they actually have. But when we do come back from break, I actually have some numbers that I heard from one of the exchanges. So we can kind of throw that out there and ponder that. So we'll be right back. And welcome back to the Crypto Show's Digital Cash Evolution right here on the Bloomberg Network. And we're talking with Eugenia Alcalá from Venezuela, who is actually on the ground working with cryptocurrencies there. So you hear everybody talking about Venezuela and cryptocurrency. Well, basically it's speculation if you're not hearing it from someone on the ground. Well, we're talking with someone on the ground. So it's not speculation in this, in this situation.
This is real world use. I'm hearing that you have a database of 12,000 interested people in the Venezuelan country. And we were just discussing off the air about how the largest Venezuelan exchange crypto buyer has confirmed that Dash transactions exceed all other cryptocurrency transactions in Venezuela combined in terms of the number of transactions. And I think it's worth noting that in those same statistics, Bitcoin still holds volume, but not transactions.
Right. Which just goes to show that the people who are actually using it for day-to-day things are, there are these smaller transactions where the rest of it's just trading and speculation.
You have fewer number of very large transactions happening in Bitcoin, which usually indicates investment or speculation of some kind.
Well, it probably also indicates that Venezuela has cheap electricity and a lot of people are mining Bitcoin, whether it be legally or illegally. I don't know.
Right. So a little bit on that. What is the story with mining in Venezuela? Is it legal? Are miners persecuted? What does that look like?
The thing is like this. Mining is not illegal in Venezuela, but maybe some miners have stolen electricity or have evaded, I don't know. They are not paying their taxes. So these little transgressions maybe are is what policemen, maybe some corrupt policemen, take as an excuse to go to their homes and to take the machines and mine themselves, or to tell them to pay them so they do not get them into trouble. So it's like this extortion from corrupt policemen, but it is not really that it's illegal or the government is going after the miners. That is not true.
I don't know. From my experience in Mexico, I don't know if it's the same in Venezuela, but those extortion taxes actually turned out to be a lot cheaper than your regular taxes.
I have heard that before. Maybe not in this case.
No, in Venezuela, that is not true. And I don't think, I don't know, I have never been a miner, but I don't think the scary moment of being extortionated is worth it. So I always encourage people to go the legal way so they can be with peace of mind and be like sure that they are not going to be bothered by these people.
And so when you're setting up merchants and getting them to businesses in Caracas and Venezuela to accept Dash and how do you instruct them to be in compliance with any regulation? And how effective is this? Are people actually transacting at these businesses? Do we have any information or data to show that?
For example, I told you guys yesterday we had our 11th conference. Our speaker for yesterday was Jose Manuel da Silva. He is co-founder of Dash Maracay, one of the 20 communities in Venezuela that teach about Dash. And he's an entrepreneur himself. He has an online store, and he was telling us yesterday that 2% of his sales are now in Dash.
Oh, that's great. Wow. That's actually very impressive, because even in the States here, I know that it's probably less than that for cheapair.com. I think they were in the 1% range, and I was just at a Discon conference a couple of weeks ago here in Boulder, where there is a business owner that has integrated cryptocurrency, and they accept multiple cryptocurrencies, Dash, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and a couple of others. And for them, their transactions was only 1%. So
yes,
for you guys to be having twice that number in terms of transactions for a single business already, I think is very impressive this early in the game.
I thought Cheap Air said 10% of 10% of their sales are on cryptocurrency. I don't know specifically about Dash, but their sales, because they're the only one out there doing it, so they get the whole world's business.
Right. Yeah, the crypto air business, right?
Right. Let's see. What was the other thing I was going to ask? Not mining, but okay. About the credit, you spoke about the credit cards earlier. I think one of the other issues with the credit cards is once you do a transaction with a credit card, by the time it settles, the inflation has already risen so much that it's exceeded the value of that transaction anyway. So that's another reason why people don't want to accept crypto or credit card payments in Venezuela.
Right. And not only that, but you even mentioned that it's almost impossible, or you can spend a lot of time waiting just for the network if you even get the transaction through, right?
Yes. I don't know if that's true with credit cards, but I know that's true with wire transfers. Because wire transfers from one bank to a different bank can take 24 hours, and that is definitely enough time for our money to devaluate, to lose value. So some people demand that the payment is from the same bank. So if you don't have the same bank as the merchant, you cannot buy things because they are going to lose value in hours.
Wow. Yeah. I most Americans, most first world people have not experienced this kind of financial devastation where your money, the money that you use for everything, for your daily life, to pay your electricity bills, to pay your cell phone bills, all of that stuff, your money just becomes suddenly devalued so much that you can't afford to pay the bills.
Yes.
We haven't experienced anything like that in America since, I guess, the Great Depression, right? I mean, in terms of that level of severity. And, Venezuela is not alone in this. And in my opinion, we are a global community. And I think that we need to make sure that our global community is caring for these groups that are the most devastated by, I guess, mismanagement of economies by governments, because they typically hold a monopoly over the printing of the money and how that money is going to be handled. But in many cases, even with central banks, the central banks don't seem to be assisting in this situation and correcting. So I
know one thing I had heard recently is that Venezuelan cash is actually more valuable if you make crafts out of it than use it as money. Like if you make a handbag or a hat or something that you weave out of the actual paper, that it's a lot more valuable than the currency itself.
And I think
actually last year, 2017, you may remember there were a lot of demonstrations against the government in Venezuela, and some people used Bolivares bills to make pamphlets because it was cheaper to do it that way than to buy or to print out the pamphlets.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a shame because the money's beautiful. It's really beautiful money. It's some of the most beautiful money I've ever seen. Eugenia actually gave me some bolivars in Bogota, and I was like, "Wow, this is just beautiful money."
Right.
It's worthless,
Right.
but it's beautiful.
And it's sad when something so beautiful goes to waste. And, and it's I think it's unfortunate that people aren't recognizing how critical this issue is. I wish it was getting daily reports in the mainstream media here in America and other countries, because I feel like this is a situation that nobody is immune to. But I just struggle with how to deal with these situations outside of an exit strategy. And it seems to me like cryptocurrency is offering, for the first time in human history, an exit strategy from people who are trapped in certain kinds of economies. Would you agree, Eugenia?
Yes, and that is why we exist, actually, to give people, the Venezuelan people, a way out and to help them recover power over their finances. They have to learn how to be their own bank, and they have to learn how to connect again with the peer-to-peer world economy that is different than the centralized controlled economy, because they put out the rules, and even if you don't agree or even if you are suffering from those decisions, you have to stick with it. And we are teaching people, we are empowering people about how to be free of those.
A topic we haven't touched yet is the Petro. I've seen the Petro as the best advertising campaign that crypto ever had and never had to pay for.
And for those who don't know, the Petro is a cryptocurrency that was released by the Venezuelan government. It is not a mined. Backed by oil, quote unquote, and not mined, right? So, but it is a public blockchain of sorts, right?
Yeah. So my question.
I agree.
Do you agree that the issuance of the Petro actually made the whole country aware of the existence of cryptocurrency, and that kind of aids in your ability to bring onboard new businesses?
Yes, I agree. That is just free publicity for cryptocurrencies in general and for Dash in particular. And I like the fact that every citizen in our country has heard the word cryptocurrency at least once in their life, because government is talking about that, and maybe they don't know yet what it means, but it means that they are aware of something of that sort exists, so they can come to us and learn about what it really means. We are one of the organizations that are teaching about cryptos, and along with other colleagues in the field, if you can say so, we are taking advantage of this phenomenon that is the Petro, and helping people to really understand. For example, we do every month a free training for journalists. So journalists can come to our training and can understand really what is blockchain technology, what is cryptocurrency, and what is Dash. And when they get out and now tell the news or write their articles, they are now coming from a real understanding of what this is all about.
That's wonderful.
And you would be amazed of how little journalists understand on the beginning, and how they come out of our training knowing now what it means. It is really great.
Well, I wouldn't be amazed, because I've seen a lot of authors here in America who are supposed to have better connection, and they just print lies and misinformation, and it's all bad. Well, we want to thank you for coming on, Eugenia. Okay. And I wanted to make sure that our audience was able to get in touch with you. How can people find you if they want to learn more about you?
Yes, you can find us in our Twitter or Instagram. That is dash. How do you say the one in the
Dash
bottom? I don't know.
dash underscore Caracas.
Dash underscore Venezuela
Venezuela.
or dash Caracas.
Yes.
Or
Yes,
Caracas.
dash Caracas or dash underscore Venezuela on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get in touch with us, and well, we will be delighted to help in any way we can.
All
Wonderful.
right. Thank you so much for coming on. And we'll definitely be talking to you. Hopefully you will make it to Texas. I did forward that email. I don't know if you've heard from Linda yet, but we're looking forward to seeing you at the Texas Bitcoin Conference.